everyone. If you are HIV positive and you are in Australia or you're thinking about coming to Australia, you might be wondering if having the virus could affect your visa application. And the answer, unfortunately, is yes. There's a lot of advocacy for HIV to be removed from the list of conditions that may lead to a visa refusal, and it's not about any type of concern with contagion or prejudice against HIV positive people. The problem with a visa application for someone who is HIV positive is pure and simply to do with cost. So there's another video here on our YouTube channel where I talk about the health criteria and health waivers. So every visa you apply for in Australia, from a short visitor visa to a forever permanent visa, there's the health criteria, which means you have to be of good health and not have a disease that could be dangerous to the community in terms of contagion. And again, HIV is not considered that. The government's talking about more tuberculosis or even COVID, I thought was going to feature there, but it's not there. And that's one side of the health criteria. The other side is if you have a disease or a condition that requires a treatment that is so in shortage in Australia that you may create problems for an Australian to get that treatment if you become a permanent resident and also needs that treatment. So those are two elements of the health criteria. But the most common element we deal with is to do with cost. There is something under policy called the health cost threshold, where anyone applying for, like I said, a visitor visa or a permanent visa, that person, if they need treatment, pharmaceutical or doctor's follow-ups or doctor's visits, community services, mental health treatments, whatever it is that the condition the person has or the disease the person has requires, is going to be tested against that threshold for the time of the visa being asked for. So someone asking for a tourist visa, visitor visa for 3 months, okay, that person is HIV positive. How much does the medicine that HIV positive people have to take every day, how much is that person's medicine gonna cost over 3 months? It's gonna be way under $51,000. Therefore, you never see a visitor visa being refused to someone who is HIV positive. Student visa, temporary sponsorship, TSS visa, all those visas that don't necessarily last forever. Very rarely you're gonna see a HIV positive applicant being refused because of cost. When, however, we're looking at getting our positive, HIV positive clients a permanent visa, things start getting a bit more complicated, because when you apply for a permanent visa, the government's going to look at how much your medicine will cost for the next 10 years. And the cost will be over $51,000. The government always calculates the cost based on a hypothetical person who needs to take the commonly prescribed medicine for HIV to keep your virus dormant and undetected. So that always comes back. So when we lodge an application for a client who is HIV positive, the medical officer of the Commonwealth looks at that person, looks at how they are feeling, if they have any symptoms, and comes back with a cost. And that cost is always over $51,000 over 10 years. Now, if you're applying for a visa subclass where there isn't a health waiver means we can ask the government, based on your personal circumstances, to disregard the health criteria and say, yes, this is going to cost more than $51,000, but in this case, we need to exercise the waiver because of ABC. Some visas have that the health waiver. Most visas don't. So if you're applying for a permanent general skilled migration visa, 189, 190, then there's no health waiver. And you need to see a migration agent before you apply for that visa if you are HIV positive, because you may have that application canceled and you need to focus on alternative strategies. Now, if you're applying for a partner visa, a permanent 186 employer nomination visa under the temporary residence transition stream, global talent visa, and a couple of others, you may be able to exercise the health waiver. And the reason I'm here talking to you today is that since 2019, when there's been a huge change in policy, the government used to look at the costs for your medicine for the rest of your life. So the medical officer of the Commonwealth would come back and say, well, a person of this age has a life expectancy of a normal person, which is amazing, but that also played against you, because then they would calculate how much it would cost you for treatment until you're 80, 90 years old. And that was way above the threshold. And even when we argued that you had savings or assets or means of paying for that medicine, most cases it was just too high, the cost was too high. But in 2019, policy changed around the calculation of someone's cost for treatment, not just with HIV, but with all conditions, and that was reduced to 10 years. And at 10 years, in most cases, we are able to get the government to exercise their waiver and disregard the health criteria for HIV positive clients. I've been helping people secure permanent visas since 2019, since that change happened. We have become one of the leading migration firms in Australia looking after HIV positive people. And we are also advocating for HIV to be medicine to be removed from the list of conditions that are looked at in terms of cost for visa applications. So if you're HIV positive, get in touch with us. We can discuss our track record with you. We are super confidential. We are bound by the code of conduct from the Office of the Migration Agents Registration Authority anyway, but we are discreet in terms of who you want to disclose your infection and who you don't want to, and we work with you towards a visa approval. So being informed is the best weapon for you when applying for a visa in Australia if you are HIV positive. Count on us. This is one of my favorite cohorts of clients to work with. We're here for you, and hopefully I can help you get permanent residence in Australia. It's a project very close to my heart. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you later. Bye.